Hi there and welcome to another PSD Tuts spoon-fed Photoshop tutorial. I'm Gavin Steele and I'm going to be taking you through James's splattered vector and photography mashup. The final image preview looks like so. It's already over on the website, so head over to psdtuts.com and check it out. You can see you've got this cool image of some splats coming out of the end of a gun, a grenade blowing up with some comet clouds and some goo coming out to the sides. And it's just a really cool little tutorial to take you through some more of the advanced stuff with the pen tool and playing around with layer styles to get some kind of 3D goo or something like that. I'm sure you can apply this to loads and loads of images. Don't forget to check out our videos over in the video section on the site. Just click on the videos tab and scroll down and they're all on there. And obviously leave a comment on some of these pictures and some of the tutorials if you like them. Okay, so the tutorial takes us through step by step and it tells us to use two different bits of stock. We're going to be using this photo of a gun. It doesn't have to be a gun, you can have any item you want to have this stuff blowing out of or coming out of. We can go to grenade and again a free grenade. Now just a quick note on these images, it says down the bottom here that standard restrictions apply and the author must be notified and credited when using the video for public work. So I'm just going to click on his name right now just so we can see some more of his brilliant photos. Hopefully you can see some of those. He's got a cool gun, this cool image here. So head over to Stock Exchange and check out his images using these links. Okay, first thing you need to do is load up the gun in Photoshop. I've done that here. I've got it set to 25%. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to cut out this gun and we're going to be using the pen tool to do that. So make sure you select the pen tool. Make sure it's just selected on pen tool and all we want is the paths. We don't need the shape layer. So select paths like I've done there. I'm going to hold down Alt and I'm going to zoom right into my gun. Ooh, I don't want to press that. Until you get it nice and close so we can start to draw out these shapes. And then we're just going to start to click around our gun. One other thing to note is make sure over here you've got this set to add path area. For some reason I had mine as subtract and I had to inverse my selections later on. So make sure you've got that set to add path area. And we're going to put down our first little point right there. And then we're going to click the top of the straight line and just pull out just a little bit because it's not quite straight. And then holding down Alt, I'm going to click on that last little marker that we put down. Now, the reason I do that, if I Control Z that, is if I don't put that down and I want to come over here and so on, the corner actually, you don't get a very nice shape. Now, if I just show you that one more time, if we lay down a point and we come over here and we do a big bend, but then the shape goes back right, and we're going to find this as we go along, you can see it does this crazy little U-turn, and it has to do that because the path can't naturally just suddenly go straight, so we need to tell it to do that. By holding down Alt, we can click and effectively you're starting again, and then you can carry on from that point. So let's get started on this. Just going to click, just drag out to make sure. Use the space bar to move around your palette or your area, sorry, and you want to use as few points as possible, but sometimes you just need to lay down a few. And I'm just clicking and dragging, okay? You're just watching, keeping an eye on that eye and seeing where that bend, where the bend comes. So here, I've got a nice big bend to this point here, so I can just pull that out and move that in. If you press A on the keyboard, it selects this white mouse pointer, which is the direct selection tool. Again, I can now move that point into place in case if I'm just off, which I was there. And again, press P on the keyboard, go back to the pen tool. I'm going to hold down Alt, come back to where it's straight again, and then draw out my points. And I'm just going to effectively go along the whole of this gun, making sure I get a nice tight selection. Again, that's just a little bit high. If I just zoom in, so I'm just going to bring that point down and in, back to the pen tool, and then straight up to the top again. You can see there's a little bit of a bend there that maybe you might not have noticed. Oop, I didn't end it, so hold down Alt. Again. Not sure why that's doing that. Oh, I see. Okay, let's just go back a couple of steps. There we go. And these are fairly square. The best way to practice and get used to the pen tool is if you actually use it for, cutting out objects and things like that. We're going to use it a little bit later on for actually drawing our goo as it is, but just going to quickly come down here. Okay, and you want to go all the way around the gun. Okay, I'm just going to click down here. You want to come around the fingers, and again you get a nice selection by clicking and dragging like so, all the way up. Just showing you these nice little bits down here. Again, you can use the direct selection tool just to bring that in. And again, you start to get used to using it the more that you do, obviously. So I'm just quickly rushing through this because it does take some time to get it exactly right until you get to the end. And don't forget, you can still click and drag with your last point until you've got a complete path all the way around. Obviously I haven't got it all the way around there. And then you right click inside the area, still on the pen tool, and you would go to make selection. Make sure your feather radius is set to 0, click on OK, and we've now got that area inside our marching ants. Now another good thing about this is if I just Command deselect, if I go back to my path channel, I've saved my path already, and all I did was once I created it, I double clicked on the working path, gave it a name as Gub, unfortunately not Gun, there we go. And then with that selected, I can click back on my layer, right click inside, and make a selection like so. Okay, so once you've got your selection, just going to copy it. We're going to go to File, New. We're going to open up an A5. So we've got A5 bit of paper. So we're going to go to International Paper, set to A5. And we're just going to flip these around. I don't want it to be portrait, I want it to be landscape. So I'm literally just going to copy that and paste it. My resolution set to 300, and I'm just going to click on OK. And it's a nice big canvas. So I'm going to bring all of that into our area here, and then obviously I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit, and then Command V, I'm going to paste this layer, so Command C, and just paste it, Command V or Control V on a PC straight into our document, and then we're going to position it. Now we want enough room for our splatters to come out the end of the gun and for our grenades. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Command T or Edit down to Free Transform, holding down Shift to hold the ratio. I'm just going to decrease the size of it a little bit, maybe a little bit more. You get a good position of that gun. So all we've done there is we've cut out that original image of the gun and we've just pasted it straight onto the canvas. We're going to move on to look at adding the splatters coming out of the gun, and again we're going to be using the pen tool to do that. So head over to your pen tool, and we're going to draw this gunk or this goo or whatever it is coming out the end of the gun, and we're just going to draw it straight onto a new layer. So this time with the pen tool, you need to head over to our shape layers, and we're going to select shape layers. Now we need to set our pink color to get started with. Again, this could be green, this could be blue, it could be any color that you want. So I'm just going to press I, and I'm going to select the color, and I've got, unfortunately it's not on the screen, but I'm just going to double click and show you what that is. So I've gone for F50078. Click on OK, and back to the pen tool, And I'm just going to turn off these layer styles for now. And we're going to apply a layer style once we've drawn out the goo. So the first one we want is going to be dripping down from the gun. So I'm going to start, let's say here, and then we're going to come down. Like so. We're going to come back in. So we get a shape that looks something like that. Now don't worry if it's not, doesn't look too gooey or doesn't look like it's really dripping, because we can press A and we can go back in and we can start to move each individual point around until we get something that, you know, that we're really happy with. So that might just come in a little bit. Click away. Okay, just going to bring these all okay, and I'm just going to bring this last little top right, I'm just bringing them in. So it kind of looks like it's spilling out down to the bottom. Right, I'm just going to bring these in and bring this. Okay, that looks a little bit better. And again, just play around with it until you get something that you're happy with. Once you've got that, we're going to apply our layer style. So we can double click directly on that layer and bring up our layer styles. First thing that we're going to add is an inner glow. So click on inner glow. We're going to have inner glow set to screen. We're going to have it set to 85. We're then going to have it set excuse me, to the angle. I'm sorry, I've put that onto inner shadow. It's not inner shadow, it's inner glow. Where are we? There we are. Okay, so make sure it's set to screen. Change that to 85. We're going to change the color to a really faint pink. So again, I'm going to sample one that I've got over here, which is D5ADD5. Click on OK. And then make sure it's set to softer. Make sure it's on edge, 0, and the size we're going to set to 18. And then 50%, we're going to come down to bevel and emboss. With our bevel emboss, again, we're going to have that set to inner bevel smooth, set to 100. Actually, let's bring that down from 100. Let's have that set to 81. Direction is going to be going up, set to 35 in size, and 16 for soften. Come down here, angle of 120 is fine, 20 degrees for our altitude. And the next thing we need to change is our gloss contour. We're going to change it to this one here, which is Cove. So click on that. Anti-alias is fine. Highlight mode we're going to leave on screen, and again we're going to set a really light pink color. So F3, D4, F9. Click on OK. And then we're going to have a deep magenta color for our purple there. Click on OK. And we're going to have the opacity set to 0 for that one. And let's reduce the opacity for our highlight mode down to, let's say, 62%. And then finally we're going to add some Saturn. So for our Saturn we need to again make sure it's on multiply. We're going to add that magenta color in one more time. So this time it's 89177B. We're going to make the angle set to 19. We're going to increase the distance just to 12, 24 for the size. And then again we're going to change it to our Cove contour. And then click on OK. I'm just going to zoom out just so we can have a look at what that looks like. And you can see it doesn't look too bad. But what it has highlighted, if we have a good look, is it doesn't quite look like it's really, falling down. So again, you can press the A tool, we can go back in here, And we can start to just play around with these, just trying to make it look a bit more like it's flowing down the side. Let's undo that last one. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let's hit enter. And again, let's zoom out to 25%. Okay, it looks pretty good. This bit here looks a little bit big, but again, you're going to play around until you get the effect that you're happy with. But it definitely looks like it's flowing out of that gun. In fact, we're a couple of pixels out there. So again, if I just grab the move tool and then zoom out one more time, looks better. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So the next thing we need to do is create more of those globs. We're going to have them coming out to the left, maybe flipping back over the gun and things like that. So I'm just going to take some time, go ahead and create those, and then I'm going to show you how I copy the layer styles over to them. So head over to the pen tool, and then as if by magic, all of the splatters and all of the goo are all on there. So I'm just going to zoom in and just show you what we've created and the goo that I've used from the tutorial. So hold down Alt, and you can see we've got some of this goo just bending out of the barrel, thinner strips coming along down the side. Now here we go, we've got this last little one over here, this little shape, this little tier shape that I've created. I'm going to right click and copy one of the other layer styles, and then on that layer, if I right click, I can just paste that layer style. Okay, now unfortunately I can only show you that if I just drag that over. So I'm just going to bring over my layers panel, and again I'm going to just undo that. So again, I just right clicked on one of the layers I've already created the layer style on and click on copy layer style. Probably better showing you this one here. Here we go, copy layer style, and then right click on this layer and just paste that layer style straight onto it. And you can see, if we just zoom in, it looks just like all the others. Okay, move that back into place. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some shadow to our gun itself just down here. So the goo actually looks like it's just lifting off away from the gun, give it a little bit of depth. And to do that, we just close that down in between those two layers, create a new layer. And on that new layer, I'm going to command click my gun. So make sure this only goes on the gun layer. And we're going to click a mask so it looks like so. Next thing we need to do is head over to our brush tool, select black, nice big brush. It's a little bit hard, so bring down the hardness right down. And again, just going to add a bit of black in there. And obviously, that's very, very thick. So bring down the opacity to say about 40%. Nice big brush. And everywhere. Just going to add the shadow like so. If it's too dark, we can reduce the opacity further so we get something that looks like that. Nice little detail, but it really will help the goo stand out. So hold down Alt and we're going to zoom out. And see that just that little bit of shadow, it really adds to the overall effect of the image. Okay, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start to play around with our grenade. So make sure you head over to the site. Again, it's over at Stock Exchange. Click on the image, download it, and then we're going to cut that out and bring that into our main document. So I'm going to load up my grenade down here. Okay, you can see that it's got the marching ants going along the top of it. Let's bring this up here. Okay, again, I just use the pen tool exactly the same way, and I'm going to right click on that and Command C. I'm just going to copy it. Let's minimize this, and then in here, Command V, I'm going to paste it straight in. Now, we're going to be moving it down, so it doesn't matter that this layer is over it. The first thing we need to do is Command T, freely transform it, and reduce it to about 35%. Let's give it an angle of minus 17.5. Okay, hit enter, and just bring that just about so. And we're going to bring it underneath our gun layer. So it's just hidden like so. Once you've got that in place, again, we're going to use the pen tool and we're going to start to break it up. We're going to start to trim around it and pull parts of it off. So let's just zoom in a little bit. Like so. Okay, I'm just going to move it, just nudge it over to the left a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to cut out some of these areas. So again, make sure you select the pen tool and make sure you select path up at the top. Once you've got that, we're going to cut out this area around here. So I'm going to start just here. I might need to zoom in a little bit more. Now you don't need to worry about these edges because you should have already cut them out nice and tightly when you brought the grenade into this main image. So we're going to go to this corner up here. I'm going to use this black line going around. So again, try and keep the curves of the image and we're just going to go around the outline. Like so. Again, we're going to come down to about here, so okay, I'm not happy with those last two little bits, so I'm going to alt click that, move that into the middle. Okay, once you've got the selection all set up, right click, make it a selection. Command X, so we're going to cut it out, add a new layer. Command V, paste it back in place. And then again, using the move tool, we're just going to position it so it's blown up and out. So if we just move it up and to the right a little bit, we're going to add our clouds in behind it later. And again, just do exactly the same thing with all the other different parts of the grenade. So you might want to get rid of, let's say, this bottom area down here. Again, grab your pen tool, press P on the keyboard, and we might want to come up to about there. Oh, my mouse has just gone off the table there. There we go. Again, make it a selection. Command X. Oh, make sure you're on the right layer. Command X. New layer. Command V. And then just move that again into place. So maybe this is just blown out just a little bit. And let's grab this last little bit, this little corner down the bottom. Again, P for pen tool. Zoom in, make sure you get a nice selection. Okay, right click, make it a selection. Command X, new layer. Command V, and let's move that just down to the right. Like so. Let's have a look at how that's looking. Okay, so that looks pretty good. They've all kind of disjointed. I know you've got these white areas down here, but don't worry too much about that. We're going to have some cool clouds that are going to come from behind it. And again, to create those clouds, we're going to be using the pen tool. We're getting a lot of use of the pen tool in this tutorial, so head over to the pen tool and we're going to start drawing out these clouds. Okay, and again, as if by magic, all my clouds are lovely and all in place. Now, obviously, it takes a long time to master the pen tool, and by no means am I anywhere near a master of using the pen tool, and it's quite frustrating actually when you play around with it, but it does take a lot of time, and unfortunately it would take all of the tutorial to show, to actually draw out every single one of these shapes, particularly for me. Obviously James, is probably a little bit quicker at it than me. So all I've done is use the pen tool, and I've drawn out these cloud shapes using the pen tool. I've got one up here in the top right. It's this one right here, and I'm just going to show you how we can add a stroke to that, just like we've got around these ones here. So make sure you select that layer, head up to your paths, double click on it. I'm going to save that path as, let's say, smoke. Hit enter, go back to my layers panel and create a new layer. And then on my brush tool, I'm going to have it set to 4 pixels and hardness is set to 100%. Make sure you got it set to black. Go back to your pen tool, right click on that area, stroke the path using your brush tool, click on OK, and then again hit enter. You've got a nice stroke there. Now you can see that it's still different compared to all of the smoke around it, and that's because we've applied a very similar layer style as we used in our goo to our clouds. I'm just going to show you that right now. So if I double click on one of the layers that's already got it on there, not that one, here we go. Okay, so you should be able to see that we've got it set to inner glow, and it's on screen 85%, and the color that we used is this BDD3E3, and it's set to softer, 0 for the choke, 9 for the size, and 50% for the range, and so on. And then bevel and emboss, it's set to inner bevel smooth, 81% going up, 18 pixels in size, and 8 pixels soften. The angle is 120 and the altitude is 20, and again we've used this Cove Shallow Gloss Contour, and the color that we used for our screen there is DFE9FA, and we left magenta on because it's on 0% opacity, 78096F. And again in the Saturn we left it on multiply and we changed that color to 3C6896. Had it set to 50%, 19 degrees angle, the distance is set to 6 pixels and the size is 12 pixels. And we've also got invert checked. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click. Once you've done it for one, copy the layer style and come back to this layer that we're using up here, right click, and I'm just going to paste that layer style. And you can see it looks exactly the same. A few other little details that I've added, again just using the pen tool. So again, if we go to this stroke layer and we just zoom in a little bit with the pen tool, you can add a little bit of a line, and let's maybe draw that out like that. And again, right click, stroke the path in exactly the same way using the brush tool, click on OK, hit on enter, and you can see it just adds that kind of fun element to our clouds and the final image. So that's how I added the clouds, and again they're all layered individually so that they all sit behind or in front of a bit that's broken away. Maybe it looks like it's sat in it. Again, you can always play around with everything once you've used it. You might not like the positioning of your grenade, or you might want to change. Let's go find it. I don't know why it's not in our grenade slot, but in our folder. I've put everything into a folder called grenade, and the same I did earlier with goo. And again, you might not like the positioning of it. You might just want to move it down a little bit, maybe even more to the right. Again, just till you get a really good feeling of where you think that you might like to put that. And again, you can play around with all of those elements. So that's how we added the smoke to the image. And the smoke, it needs a little bit more. So we're going to add a bit of green goo this time to our smoke. Again, using the pen tool in exactly the same manner as we did with our goo to the gun at the top. And this time we're just going to use a bright, vibrant green as the base color. And again, we're going to be using the pen tool for this. And again, I've probably gone over the top a bit with all of the green goo here. But again, simply using the pen tool, I've drawn out the goo shapes, applied the layer style, Exactly the same as before. Inner glow, this time we've used a muted green of C5, C3, 8A. Bevel and emboss again. Inner bevel smooth, 81%, 18 in size, 8 pixels soften, 120 degrees, 20 degrees for altitude. Again, we're using this cove, shallow cove gloss. And again, we're using DOCCA1 for our highlight mode, and the shadow mode is set to 0%, but again, it's the same magenta as before. And then the Saturn this time is a dark green 414324, and everything else is set the same 19 degrees angle, and distance 6 pixels, size 12 pixels, and again cove shallow for our contour. And I've drawn them out, I've interlaced them between the layers so they look like they're coming out from underneath certain things or over the top. There's probably, all in all, there's probably too much going on there, but if we just zoom out, okay, it doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit big, and obviously I've put all of that inside a grenade folder. I could hit Command T and just scale it all down just a little bit and undo that. Unfortunately, I don't know why this layer's not in there. Again, layer management, but now if I do that, they should all scale down as long as nothing's been left out. Okay, that looks pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that grenade folder. I'm going to drag it down like so. And then I'm going to Command D, merge it into one layer, bring it right to the very top of our layer stack. And then I'm going to bring that up to the top right hand corner. And I'm going to transform that. I'm just going to rotate it just a little bit. And again, bring that up. And this is the one that's going to look like it's coming, slightly towards us. So I'm going to just increase the size a little bit more, and again move it up. And then we're going to go to Filter, we're going to go Blur, and we're going to go to Lens Blur. And you need to make sure that you have it set to the following settings. So I'm just going to bring this in so hopefully you can see all of the settings. So we're going to have it on More Accurate. Source is set to none, radius is set to 19, the blade curvature is also set to 19, rotation is set to 25, 0 for the brightness, 201 for the threshold, and 1 for the amount, and then we're going to set it to Gaussian down at the bottom. Okay, once you've got that, click on OK, and you can see that it's blurred that out as if it's coming towards us. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger. Again, we should scale these things before we blur them. I'm just going to move it up like so. Okay, that looks pretty good. And again, we can come back to our earlier grenade and we can copy that layer as well. Before we do that, I just want to play around with some more of the curves and the color just to tie everything together. So if we come back to our goo layer, and we're going to do exactly what we did before, we're going to go to, we're going to merge all that layer down. We're going to go to Filter, and this time we're going to apply a blur of Gaussian blur, have it set to 0.6 pixels, and click on OK, and it'll just tie that in a little bit better. We're going to head up to, actually we'll do that to our other grenades folder as well. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur, set it to 0.6 pixels, click on OK. And then we're going to add and play around with the curves of the image. So if we go to Image Adjustments and then click on Curves, just going to bring my box over like so. And then we're just going to play around with this just ever so slightly. We're just going to bring this up just a little bit like so. And then down the bottom, we're just going to bring that back down like so. And if I just move that to the side, we can start to see what effect that has. Obviously, if I make that too dark, it's really, really going to affect it. But if we just bring that in just a little bit, that looks pretty good. Okay, and click on OK. Actually, if we just undo that 1 second and we create a new layer and do that for all of it rather than doing each at a time, head over to New Adjustment Layer, then click on Curves, click on OK. And again, this time when we make those changes, it's going to make it to the whole picture. So again, I've just increased the top bit, and I'm going to decrease, just pull it down just a little bit, and let's have a look at what the effect that has. Okay, it looks pretty good. If I go too dark, like I said, we lose the detail of the gun. And we want to keep that. And again, let's just bring this up to the right, and then click on OK. And the final thing to do really is to apply some kind of artistic filter or grain, just to give the image a little bit of texture. So what we're going to do is we're going to flatten the whole image now. So if I hold down Shift, click on the bottom, and merge all of that into one, and then go to Filter, Artistic, and then we hit Film Grain. Okay, and in our film grain settings, you want to have it set so it's on 2 for grain, 1 for highlight area, and 0 for intensity, and make sure it's set to film grain. Click on OK, and then we're going to set that right down to 55. Whoop. Should have done that as a layer, so let me just go back again. Image, adjustment layer, my mistake. Duplicate that layer, that's why that didn't work. Duplicate it first, filter, artistic, film grain. Settings should all be the same, they are. And then reduce that layer down to about 50%, 55%. And then click on OK, and I'll just zoom in just so we can see what effect that's having. So here we are at 100%. You can see it ties it all together. It's really nice. It makes everything look like it's part of the image, like the goose was taken with the photo of the gun. And then I'm just going to zoom out to finish the piece off. You might want to create a new layer, another background layer, go on the top of everything. And I'm just quickly going to vignette this. Just grab my brush tool. I'm going to make it nice and big. And 0% hardness. Make sure it's on black. I'm just going to grab these corners like so. And I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and just increase that. Let's zoom out so we can have a good look. Click on OK. And that's basically the tutorial. Obviously you can add anything else that you want to add to it, but you get the idea. We're just playing around with the pen tool, playing around with layer styles, cutting things up, and it's a great fun little tutorial. There's some suggestions already on the site and comments for making this look like it's coming out of your mouth, out of your nose, and things like that. So you can have a lot of fun with this. So make sure you check out the tutorial over at PSD Tuts Spoon-Fed Photoshop Tutorials at psdtuts.com, and don't forget to check out all of our great videos over in the video section. So thanks very much to Tom for that brilliant tutorial. Sorry, not Tom, James. And I hope you come back for some more. Thanks very much.